This podcast was originally live-streamed on the NonSequitur show on YouTube. New episodes air weekdays, Monday through Friday, at 8 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/NonSequitur show. Make sure you never miss a live stream by visiting www.nonsecshow.com/schedule. For the latest news, polls and updates throughout the day, follow us on Twitter at NonSecShow or Facebook.com/NonSecShow. That's NONSEQ show. If you'd like to get exclusive content, bi-weekly private hangouts with Kyle and Steve, backstage access to chat with guests after shows hosted on your channel and much more, become a Patreon saint of NonSequitur. It ensures we continue to improve our show and brings you into the process at the same time. Visit patreon.com/NonSequitur today while the limited spots are still available.
The following podcast is intended for those who believe bold ideas are righteous, unique perspectives are gospel, and strong opinions are sacred. This is Non-Sequitur. Never follow. And now, here are your hosts, Kyle Curtis and Steve McCrae.
By their arguments, ladies and gentlemen, you may know them. When people begin to introduce the non-sequitur, you know you're onto something.
I was watching Hitchens in a debate the other day, and they just don't make him like him anymore, do they?
Yeah, I actually am a huge fan of his. I mean, there's a few things I disagree with him on, but he was one of the greatest orators and spokesmen for some of these topics of all time.
Absolutely. Welcome everybody back to the show. If you're just joining us from last night, we had a really good time with Cult of Dusty. Everybody loved having him on. They responded really well to Dusty, so that was good, very good. I know Steve had a good time learning about.
I did. I was surprised. I was expecting to be having more backlash. I know there's been a lot of history with Dusty. He's been around a long time, a lot of controversial stuff. There was nothing. I mean, literally nobody brought up anything. I was like, wow, this is awesome.
But I'm going to make just one quick announcement. We will be on Saturday. We'll be having a private hangout with our Patreons. So if you are a Patreon, you can meet us meet me. Steve will be gone for the weekend, but you can meet me at 4:00, and we will be going over what we've got coming up in terms of the rest of this month for the show. And we're actually going to let you guys vote on a couple of shows that we're going to do. We've got something different that we're going to try. So you can join us for that if you're a Patreon. If you are not and you want to be, you can go to patreon.com/nonsequitur and sign up for that. Tonight we are going to be having a discussion on slavery, and in just a second I will lay out what exactly the proposition is. But before we do that, let's meet who we have joining us tonight. For the first time, we have Psychopath. I hope I'm going to say this right. Sykopathiest. Steve.
I can never get it right either. Sykopathiest. Sykopathiest. Like we call him Sykopathiest. No, Sykopathiest.
Peace. What's going on, everybody? Sykopathiest, actually, but yeah, what's going on?
Sykopathiest. Yeah,
Psychopathiest. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was right. That's why I wasn't kidding. It was Sykopathiest, but
yeah. By the way, Dave, I'm seeing in the chat people are saying that they can't see me. Is that am I not showing up? Yeah, I see me too.
Well,
you're looking radiant as ever.
Because there's a green tint to your jacket and your shirt is green.
My shirt's blue.
Shirt's blue. Yeah, I see blue.
Well, definitely
whatever.
Got green in it because it's kind of fuzzing out a little bit.
Well, as long as they okay.
It's good. It's fine.
Yeah, it's good. We're good. So welcome, Sykopathiest. All day long, I've been trying to like sound that out, like psychopath atheist, psychopath atheist. But welcome.
Yeah, some
We're
people
glad to
call
have
me
you.
that too. All right,
I'm just going to call you Psycho for the rest of the stream.
That's
Is that
fine.
cool?
Yeah,
he's definitely that. No, okay.
Awesome. And coming back to join us for the second time. He was with us about a week and a half ago, I believe. JF, welcome back, JF.
It's a great pleasure to be here. This is such a great show. I like the philosophical aspect of it. I like you guys, what you do, and I'm up anytime.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, bud.
I really appreciate that.
That's nice of you.
I'm going to let you guys take a second now and just introduce yourselves and let people know what you do, why you do it. Psycho, you want to start out? I know you've got a show that you do quite often.
I'll say a black atheist, which is odd because most of our people are very spiritual, but that's what I kind of started off doing, but then I kind of delved a little bit deeper into the social aspects of the black diaspora in this country, and as a whole, because I'm a Pan-African / black nationalist. I'm wondering what me and this guy's going to pretty much disagree on some things, but we'll get deep into all that. But I focus on the issues going on in my community, basically socially, economically, and politically. And that's pretty much it. That's the mainstay of my show for the most part.
Okay, thank you. And JF.
Well, I'm pretty intimidated by Sykopathiest icon. It looks rough. I'm intimidated to have him as an opponent. But I'm Jean-François Gariepy. I'm a biologist. I've been studying society of monkeys, social interactions in humans at the doctoral, postdoctoral level, neuroscience, surgery, and now evolution and the mathematics of the emergence of life. And I've also been making cases about moral stuff like slavery. And my position today will be simply that slavery is often demonized. It was an institution. I'm not going to make a case that slavery should be good and always accepted, but I think that the institution is getting demonized. We'll see there's many points at which there is deception in our representation of what slavery was. To me, it was a working relationship that did involve a violation of consent. So it is ultimately a moral violation. However, slavery ultimately was good for the black people who got involved into it. It was favorable to the well-being of their descendant and to the existence of their descendant. My understanding from the accent of Sykopathiest is that he's in America right now, and we may have a case of a black person who depends on slavery for his own existence. There would be no black person in America if it wasn't of slavery. And so we have to accept it as an imperfect past aspect of our civilization, but certainly not to be rejected, because if you reject it, you reject the existence of biodiversity in the human population of the U.S. today.
Okay, I'm going to let you respond, Psycho. I think I was going to lay out the what the problems. I think he did it there though, so we don't need for me to go back into it. The only thing that I will ask of both of you is that I know this will probably get in some parts a little heated. Just don't talk over each other so that people can hear both of your sides. We'll give you each all the time that you need to make your say your side and get your argument out. But just try not to talk over each other. That's my one pet peeve. All right, Psycho, do you want to respond to anything that Jeff just said there?
Yeah. He's made a claim that obviously, yes, I am Black American, but he made a claim that without slavery, my existence I wouldn't be here pretty much. And when you say I wouldn't be here, I'm assuming you mean my existence or my existence in this country. I would argue both points. How can you say that I wouldn't exist if I wasn't in this land? That just doesn't compute in my head. And for you to say that I wouldn't exist as far as being on this land. Everybody migrated over to this land. I see a France flag in your background. I hear your accent, so I'm assuming that you're French. So by your estimation, without slavery, your people will be a stronger people, because wasn't it slavery that was part of the demise of Napoleon's reign, because of what happened out in Haiti when the Haitians revolt, turned around and pretty much bankrupt Napoleon to the point where he had to sell his portion of land over here that became the Louisiana Purchase at some point in time. So by your own claim, your land would be a stronger entity with if slavery didn't happen, if you didn't focus so much on that island, and you could have just been left that island alone. But y'all decided to keep on making that fight and lost, by the way. And by that point, y'all had to turn around, sell your land over here in America, and the Americas, I should say. And then Napoleon ended up losing all his political support. Everybody turned on him, exiled him, if I am mistaken, from his own country. So do you live here in America? Because I'm not too familiar with you. Do you even live here?
So I've lived in the U.S. for 5 years. To be precise, this is a Québécois flag. So I'm a descendant of the French people. However, my ancestors that were French have traveled to America, into Quebec, around the 17th century, among the first waves of migration of white people from France to the east coast of America. And I want to say, as a Québécois person, I want to deny being involved, and my ancestors being involved in any sort of slavery of black people. Today, I'm making a case as someone who's an observer of the American situation. Huh?
Can you prove that?
What did you say? Oh, can I prove that? Well, genetically, I can prove that I descend from French people who have traveled from France back in the 17th century. In fact, my last name, Gariepy, has been traced back to the single person who left France in the 17th century and went into Quebec. We know historically that there is no trace of slavery. We found a total of 13 slaves in Montreal, and it's a very historic finding. It was the first time we ever found evidence that slavery has occurred. So it did occur in Quebec, but in a restricted mansion, in fact, in a single house in my nation. Otherwise, I descend from a people who has not been engaged in slavery of black people. And since I left my ancestors left the European continent before the transatlantic slave trade. Sorry, I had a difficulty pronouncing it. I can say safely that for the last thousands of years, I've not been involved in lineages that have been enslaving other humans. That's at the personal level. Now, as an observer of the American situation, I still have a rather positive outlook on slavery, not that everything was good about it, but I would point out that we can also make a case that any institution where violence occurs is bad. Someone could be coming here and make the case that marriage is a violent institution because some husbands beat their wives. I think that would be unfair to the institution. What we have to recognize is that, yes, marriage can sometimes put you in a condition where you will be the victim of violence, but that it has a positive outcomes on the rest of society and that it's not always a violent operation. I think that slavery, when you look, for example, at the state of black people today, of course, it's undeniable that the descendants of slaves in the U.S. have one of the best circumstances for any black person on the entire planet in terms of literacy, in terms of economic opportunity, in terms of satisfaction with their life, and in terms of the quality of life that they benefit from. That is a consequence of slavery, and we have to deal with it. Why is it that essentially if you were a black person in Africa 400 years ago, there was two outputs for you. Either your descendants would be transported to the U.S. and work on cotton farms and the likes in the south of the U.S., or your descendants would stay in Africa. Would you recognize, Sykopathiest, that those who were brought to the U.S. have secured a